Hi everyone. I hope everyone's doing well tonight. Tonight I'm going to film in my room because everyone's kind of out and about in the kitchen, in the living room, so I don't want them to have to worry about coming in and out. So the lighting's kind of not the greatest in here, so hopefully this will work. All right, so anyways, let's start with the singing bowl. Again, I hope everyone is doing well tonight. Bring in a little good vibration. All right, nice. Okay, so as I meditated a little bit before this video, I was just kind of asking what the topic might be about, and Source gave me multiple insights as to what the messages could be applied to, but I think one of the larger messages that were coming across was navigating relationships, in that it seems like there's a lot of people, well, it's human life, so of course there's a lot of people struggling with interpersonal relationships. But so let's just kind of see where they take us when it comes to talking about relationships. See if it's more romantic, if it's more in the workforce, if it's in your neighborhood, your community, possibly the people that you're working on reaching or your outreach. So we'll just get a go and see what Spirit has to say about it. I'm going to start with the Arc Animal Tarot and Oracle deck. It is by Bernadette King. It's a really beautiful, beautiful deck. I did sort before I had the Oracle cards that were kind of combined in with it, so I will pull one Oracle card and then I'll do a spread for the tarot. So let's go ahead and pull the Oracle first. All right, seeing everyone, how everyone's sleeping. I know that we are struggling in that area, but it's all right, right? It's just temporary. Tomorrow is the 21st, so I know that there's a lot of people that are looking forward to seeing what the 21st brings in. All right, so let's go ahead and pick an Oracle card. Okay. Oh, I guess he wants to go this one. All right. And then just do a, if we have any cards that will pop out here. For the Oracle, we got two. We got the Martin. Whoa. And And we also got the butterfly. So I guess while I'm working on laying these out, we could talk a little bit about those two cards. The Martin, the 3 words that are flowing around on the card with it is fortunate tidings, camaraderie, and crown chakra. So I'll show you the picture of it. See if anything stands out to you. I know that that's one of the nice things that I've been learning to explore more when it comes to my gifts is being able to look at whether it's a picture, a shadow, just the change in like texture when it comes to material, or of course outdoors you can see all sorts of different geometric and changes in just the environment, and trying to, I mean, Spirit is constantly sending us messages right now. So as I look at this card, the Martin, the first thing that stands out to me is the first word is fortunate tidings, but then you have like this weasel looking thing like angry at you, looking like it's gonna strike or bite or something. So when I think about fortunate tidings, I often don't put that face together with it. So I guess what Spirit is directing me to is kind of talking more about what seems like is not working or is bad fortune, or as problems, which means a meltdown or a breakdown of a relationship. I have a friend that talks about her partner, and again, there's nothing wrong with anyone's approach to the relationship, but they're just 2 very different communicators, and her partner is very much, as soon as there's a problem in the relationship, it's like, okay, you know, we're having a breakdown, we got to get back on track. Like, understanding that, you know, all relationships, even on a daily basis, you know, go through changes and ups and downs. I mean, hopefully not every day in huge changes, but if the relationship is stagnant, then it's not growing. And we grow as people through difficulties, through conflict, through things that need to change or we need to work together to figure out. And so for that stuff to happen, there has to be some discomfort that comes up. So this idea that relationships, for them to be great and working well, means, you know, they're smooth sailing, is just, that's just really not realistic, let's say. Relationships are full of conflict. That's just the bottom line of it. Now, if it's conflict that is, I don't like using the word toxic, because I think toxic has a lot of karmic ties to it. So I just want to use maybe the words that of like, if the relationship is just hugely impacted in a traumatic way, in a negative way, in an exhausting way, if it feels like it's absorbing all your energy and taking the kind of the essence, the light out of you, well then, yeah, definitely things need to change, or the relationship possibly could use a break or needs to end. But overall, on a regular basis, most of our relationships have some sort of conflict in them, and there's nothing wrong with that. That doesn't make it unhealthy. It actually makes it healthier. The fact that you can bring up things that are troublesome or bothersome or that you don't like, versus just ignoring or denying or rejecting, or however it is that you want to see it as. So the Martin draws me to this idea that, you know, if you are looking for ways to reach people, if you are looking to repair relationships in general, the crown chakra to me, of course, that's the way that spirit gets in, the information gets in, and information honestly is constantly always funneling in on some level, whether you're consciously aware of it or not, it is funneling in. So I guess what spirit is drawing me to is when you're thinking about whatever conflict you're having or in the relationship that you're having, being able to take moments of pause. If you feel yourself getting really worked up in a situation, it's probably not the best time to resolve whatever the issue is. It's best to maybe leave the situation for a little bit or temporarily, whether that's a couple minutes or whether it's a couple hours or a couple days or however you decide. You make the call, you're the judge. And then come back together and figure something out when the baseline is at a place that both of you two can think. I think often we make the mistake of trying to resolve conflict in the midst of a lot of tension and a lot of anxiety or a lot of hurt or a lot of emotion that doesn't necessarily feel very well. And that's not to say that you can always just kind of take your ball and go home whenever things aren't working. But if there is a large conflict, it's really important to be able to take care of yourself and bring yourself back to a baseline that you can feel like you can grasp and use the skills and use the techniques that you just naturally have or that work for you. When you're all discombobbled and all worked up, it's not as easy to be able to draw on that. As well as, we forget that, as we're worked up, the energy that we're releasing, the other person or the people are picking up on that. And if you're someone that has a career of helping others, however that may be, or you have a passion to help others, it's really important right now to be able to get yourself in a place of ease. Now, that doesn't mean a place of like happy-go-lucky, no problems, no, but getting yourself in a place that the homeostasis of the pond is calm. It's the pond is healthy, it's alive. It's not, going crazy or hugely disruptive. It's not a tidal wave. It's not the ocean, a tsunami or anything like that. Just getting yourself to a place that you can think. And I don't think that that's rocket science, to know that. And it sometimes can be very difficult to remember it in the minute because we feel like, oh, I got something to say, I'm going to say it, and this person better listen to me. And often that's not going to be the case. Okay, so camaraderie is something else that came out with the Martin. So I think what I'm being guided to talk a little bit about is that, if you're struggling interpersonally, and interpersonally also means in a relationship with yourself, that we tend to forget that there are many people that are in a similar situation or have been or will be, or that are more than willing to lend an ear, to talk about it with you, or to help you problem solve. But here's the deal, is remember, Spirit is telling you that as you're reaching out, you have to remember what do you think will be the response that you'll get. So making sure that you are reaching out to the people that are likely to give you the response that you want versus reaching out to people that are going to give you a response that you don't want. So for instance, if I wanted to just vent about something and just kind of process it out loud, and I just really needed somebody that was a good listener, I definitely would not call my father. Because, and that's not to say anything is wrong with my father, but my father is very solution oriented. So he's going to give me all sorts of solutions, whether I agree with him or not. But so do you understand, like my goal for doing that for reaching out to someone. I'm not going to meet my goal by the choice that I made. And again, it puts the ball back into your court, in that you're making a decision that could ultimately get you the outcome that you want, versus just, you know, doing and expecting, and the likelihood of what's going to come back is probably not in your favor. So it's like it's stopping and it's thinking, you know, thinking, kind of game playing, strategizing, so that you can go ahead and process whatever it is that you're working through. Yeah, okay. So, and then the next oracle that came out is just Spirit remind, is the butterfly. Evolution, delight, and life's rhythms. And that's just, it's really what we've been talking about already, is just setting expectations that make sense for yourself. Don't set expectations that are too quick, and so maybe they might be able to be achieved down the line, but today probably not. Don't set that expectation, because you're just going to upset yourself. You're just going to set yourself up for some failure, and then possibly, you know, a pullout, because your diagram is not one that works. So instead of possibly pulling out, maybe redesigning the plan of action, as you understand that a lot of times the larger issue, the larger struggles, the larger troubles that you have in your life, it's an evolution. It's not like you decide on doing things one way and then you take a action on that, and then it just turns out for you. I know sometimes, if you're lucky, it does, but often, like, Spirit is drawing me to this card again to understand that it's an evolution. It's a process. Change is a process, and no one likes to hear that, because it's like, well, I would like to know the timeline so I can, you know, get things going here. And unfortunately, the bigger the issues, the more complicated what it is that you're dealing with, the less of a time frame there is, and it's more about just it's more about how it's meant to unfold, and so Spirit is just helping you understand that life has its rhythm. It has its own rhythm, and there's something called divine timing. And if you're in a relationship and you identify with, like, twin flame, understanding that that's a divine timing relationship. If you have a life's purpose or a life's mission that you believe is a spiritual focus and is something that you incarnated into this world with, well, then there's a divine timing element to that. So you could be doing all the right things and yet understand that until that time work or that time frame opens up, what it is that you're looking for is not necessarily going to completely unfold. And it's a process of continuing to work on yourself, continuing to build in that area, and having faith that it will open up when you're ready, and when Source, the universe, the Galactic Council, just many people that are involved in your life success agree that the contract is fulfilled and you're ready to go with it. So and then also, you know, delight in, if you're struggling right now, and I'm looking at some of the cards that have already come out, and it's kind of pointing to that there's a conflict or a large interpersonal struggle or relational struggle that you have going on. Trying to find time to enjoy a little bit, to enjoy yourself. And I think we talked about this last night, and that, you know, here's the deal. everyone has their own thing that helps them get through life in general. Forget difficult times and struggling times. Let's say just something that keeps you engaged. Some people it's sports. Some people it's gaming. You know, some people it's physical exercise and exertion. Some people it's painting, it's reading, it's getting together with some type of club of people. It's taking care of your vehicle, your car in your garage. It's, you know, there's putting makeup on. I mean, shop. I mean, there's just so many different things that people do. And Spirit is just guiding you to see that it's really important that you continue to incorporate those things in your life and that you don't let those fall off to the wayside. Particularly if you're in a situation that you are separated from a significant other, whether you identify with being a twin flame or it's a very powerful soulmate for you. During that separation time, during that time of conflict, and maybe it's you taking a step back and a break because maybe you lost your job or maybe you quit your job. Maybe there's a gigantic move and you don't know anyone in the new placement that you're in, but you've decided to step yourself back. It's so important to honor what helps you connect to life. And so if you're a runner, making sure that you're getting out and you're still running, even when you don't feel like it. If you're a writer, making sure that you're putting pen to paper, even if it's only for 15 minutes, but not giving up on something that provides you with joy each day. Because it's even that 15 minutes, even that half an hour, however long it is that you engage in this activity, that makes a huge difference. It can change the trajectory of your whole entire week with what you do in one day. So it's just really important to remember that, because as soon as you get off track with what makes you joyous, with what brings you grounding, with what helps you kind of, because a lot of these things that we do, it releases energy, it releases stress, it releases what we would consider negative emotion. And if you're not doing it and you're not engaging, and then that emotion has no place to funnel out, it stays within. And right now, if you identify with being a light worker, starseed, someone that has a soul's purpose to influence change, it's so important that you keep your vibration high, that you keep yourself elevated, that you project positivity and love. And I know it sounds so cliche with this idea of unconditional love, but it's true. Being able to unconditionally accept what's around you. Now, that doesn't mean that you're going to want to hang out with everyone and everything. No. It just understand that, you know what, everyone is here doing the best that they can with the information that they have. And those that are hurtful and harmful to themselves and other people require different types of supports to keep, whether it's other people or themselves, safe. But understanding that, you know, that's their life journey, that's their life path. That's, you know, who are we to judge, and who are we to pass that judgment on to other people to potentially judge us too. And how does that fuel the vibration of the earth? How does that fuel this idea of unconditional love if, you know, we're talking poorly on someone that clearly already has a poor situation going on? I mean, I think that that's one of the things that's really important that Spirit wants me to talk about, is that if someone's really in a pretty shitty place, and maybe, you know, hurt people. So if they are doing something that's hurtful, that's destructive, well, what does that say about them? And that doesn't mean that you have to, you know, care solely upon their feelings and their emotions. I'm not asking you to stop and do that, because sometimes it's kind of impossible to do that in the moment, because you're processing through what you're experiencing. But it's also really important that if someone's already in a bad place, there's no reason for us to just add to that bad place. It's like, why place another stone in that ground that they're stuck in? And if you don't have any options on helping them, or maybe helping them is not something that you want to do, then getting away from that area or that place with them, just not engaging with them. So, all right, so those are the oracle cards. So let's see here. Currently, right now, we have the Ten of Swords, and that's the hyena card. So that's drawing me to understand that whatever relationship that you have, whether it's with yourself, Spirit's kind of guiding me more to the relationship that you have with, someone else, or, someone in particular. But that there's betrayal, deep wounds, necessary recovery time needed. And here's the thing that they want me to say is that, you know what, some relationships have to be left behind. Sometimes it's a time to move forward. That lesson, your lesson with that person, because every person that we have a significant relationship with is a soul, is a soul partner, is a soulmate. It's someone that we agreed before we incarnated to come and help us learn something. Now that doesn't mean that you have to like the lesson that was learned. Absolutely not, because sometimes those lessons, they're learned really hard. I know from my own personal experience, it doesn't feel good to be cheated on, or to feel like you were used, or to be lied to or betrayed. It doesn't feel good. But so Spirit is directing me to say that sometimes, there's a close of the relationship, and needs to be done. And there are other times that, sometimes a break is required. A break is required for some healing to take place, because you can't heal in the same place that you were harmed or you were broke. So if you're in the midst of this turmoil, you're not going to be able to get active healing in at that time. You have to get yourself together first before healing can begin. And when it comes to partnership, often two people have to separate for a little bit to be able to find that place, to be able then to come back together and figure out if it can be worked out or not. And guess what? Sometimes it still can't. But there are many times that people open back up and regrowth, and people rebuild. So the hyena is saying a break is needed, it's required, but it's also a positive sign in the sense that it's a 10. It's at the end. The next is the Fool. The new chapter, the new beginning reigns in. So no one's expecting to spend a year at a 10. If you're spending a year at a 10, well, then you needed to check out a long time ago. The next is the Condor. It's kind of looks like a vulture type bird, but it's truth. It's the King of Swords. It's truth, final authority, and a brilliant mind. So often when a relationship is in incredible conflict, there's a lot of truth that's come out, and often that truth can be very hurtful. But in the end, that truth is something that's very valuable, because it's something that is definitive, and you have your answer, and then you ultimately get to make a choice as to whether or not you want to move forward with that relationship or you don't. And again, it's not just one or the other. There's a lot of different ways of going about it. Maybe you need to take a break for a little bit and live your own life. Maybe you need to take a break for a bit and recalculate. Maybe you need to take a break for a little bit and heal. Maybe you just don't want to be in the relationship anymore. That truth was too much and you're just going to end the relationship. Or maybe you're figuring out a way to mend whatever needs to be mended when you guys are together. But the truth is important, because the truth is what shall set you free. Because it's not like going to come up and bite you again. You have that. But then you have to be accountable and say, okay, if I'm going to say, I'm going to accept that and I'm going to still try to figure out how to work through it, well, then you have to recognize that there are tasks that come along with that. Because now you made the choice to stay around. You made the choice to work through this. And this person can't take that back. Spirit is guiding me to remind ourselves that often when we're in the midst of trying to resolve conflict, we have a tendency of holding that over someone else. And at that point, it's important that we let that go. If we're saying, okay, I hear what you did, I'm hurt by what you did, but I want to repair the relationship, then you yourself have to be accountable for how you heal. And then that other person, if that's the person that did the harm, they have to be accountable to themselves to ensure that they don't practice that type of behavior again. But this round and around and around and around with what happened is more destructive than it is healing by any means. And so it's about getting off of the merry-go-round, getting off, accepting that you made a choice to stay, you made a choice to figure it out, so you make a choice to give off the merry-go-round. And then that other person gets to make their own choices. So that's what makes resolving conflict so difficult, because it's not just like you get to decide and then everything goes well or should go a certain way. No, you still have to work independently as two different people trying to resolve conflict to be able to come together and to come to an understanding. And that's where brilliance comes from, because guess what? When we can figure out how to mend broken fences, another door within us opens up. It opens up to a new understanding, or a new appreciation, or a new skill, or a new belief or life practice. I mean, I can't tell you how much more rigid my thinking was 10 years ago about relationships. And I thought 10 years ago that, you know, I was pretty flexible. And that's not to say that I didn't have a lot of flexibility, but I mean, it's considerable rigidity going on in comparison to now. And even now, it's not like I have perfect relationships, I know how to do everything. No, but we are constantly growing, and there's a brilliance that comes along with really plowing through something within an interpersonal relationship that most people would be like, oh, I could never do that. And the pride that you end up feeling when not only do you resolve the conflict, but you strengthen the relationship, it's beautiful. It's beautiful. And again, I'm not to say that, you know, everyone should resolve all conflict within relationships, because sometimes that just doesn't happen. It just doesn't. And then the puffer fish is the 9 of Cups that came out after, and that is what we've been talking about. In the end, and the 6 of Wands came out with it. So the puffer fish and the 6 of Wands came out. That's the end, the potential outcome of the situation that we've been talking about, along with the duck, is that there's a victory. And the victory is that you didn't just throw the baby out with the bathwater, that you took time to make a decision, because let's say that this is an important relationship. You took time to make a decision as to how to resolve whatever the conflict was. And then you made your best attempt to do that. And then the outcome followed as is. Now remember, the victory doesn't always mean that you ride in unscathed. a lot of times people riding in after some type of battle, they have some bruising, they have some cuts. You can tell that they didn't just get out of the beauty shop. So you might come in a little bruised up, but you're going to come in knowing that you're in a place that not only can you accept and appreciate, but you can feel a sense of duty, whether it's to yourself, to your family, to the other person involved. But they're being able, I mean, I guess Spirit is asking that I draw from my own personal experience. And I guess one of the things that I'm most proud of in my life is, you know, I went through a pretty traumatic circumstances about, you know, 7 years ago, 8 years ago, and it lasted for several years. And unfortunately, there was a lot of destruction that came about with a lot of different people that were involved. And of course, I would never look back upon that situation and say, oh, I'm glad I went through that. And I'm, you know, glad those people got hurt because a valuable lesson was learned. I'm still not going to look at it like that. But I'm going to say that if it needed to happen, if that's how life was going to dish itself out, I feel really proud that the ripple effect that came out of that is something of strength. It's something of value, and it's something of honor that many of us figured out how to work together to not only resolve the conflict, but heal from it. And by doing so, not only did we heal from that conflict, but we healed from other situations in life, whether that would have been other life experiences, other relationships, other things within the relationship, other lifetime trauma. I mean, there was a lot of healing that took place that I really feel very proud, not only of myself, but proud to be amongst people that were willing to do that with me. I mean, how beautiful is that? That we can be involved with a tribe of people, whether it's family, friends, or just people that I consider family, or incredibly important to my life, that we were willing to work together in some very difficult circumstances. And yeah, it didn't all unfold in ways that were perfect for all of us, but that we still got to a place that we still loved and appreciated one another. We just maybe had to redefine relationships, or some changes came out of it. But I mean, that to me, that's pretty amazing that a group of people cared enough about each other that they figured it out. And so if you're struggling right now and you really care about the people that you're struggling with, and that's not to say that, you know, I'm going to sit here and predict your outcome. You know, you get to make the outcome whenever you so choose. But try to care enough about that person or those people or yourself for you to put in the energy and the effort to make the outcome the best that it can be. Don't forget the relationships that are involved. And honor the fact that, you know what, sometimes through some really difficult changes, come often, almost all the time, through difficult changes come new opportunities. All right. Well, I know I'm going like 39 minutes or something like that. So I hope you all have a great evening. Spirit is really directing you to take care of yourself and do things that are relaxing, enjoyable, something that is your passion to help you get through this time. Keep your spirit high, your vibration high, and check in hopefully tomorrow. Okay, have a good evening. Bye, guys.